So I want to tell you about what happened as I was starting to discover some of these things. I started talking to my husband about it, and he's a very open-minded person. Probably the most open-minded person you'll ever meet. And he would tell me things, other conspiracy theories, maybe you want to call it, and they would drive me nuts, and I would be mad, and I would be thinking, don't tell anybody this is what you believe because you're going to embarrass me. So you would think when I started, sharing some of this with him, and I finally came around to saying, like, well, I don't even remember if I said, I don't believe that Jesus is coming back. I don't even know if that's what I said. I think I might have said, I don't believe in the rapture. He claims he was really mad at me. I don't remember him being mad. Maybe he just didn't. He's good at hiding it. I don't know, but he didn't take it very well. And I think it took him quite a while to come to terms with it. And it honestly wasn't anything I said that convinced him, because I think sometimes, it's hardest to listen to those who are closest to us. Maybe that's a little bit of it. But he did eventually come around. And once he believes something, he just doesn't care about, he really doesn't care what other people think. No filter. And so it just coincided with around the same time that we found ourselves at a new church. And you don't want to just go to a new church and then dump this on them. So we didn't. We just went. But we did meet some people there that I thought, these people are cool. They're really different, and maybe they would be open to discussing these things. They really liked the Bible, talking about the Bible. He was a leader in our kind of Sunday school type class, and so we had them over a couple times to talk about it. And I was really shocked because it didn't go very well. When we went into it, I said, well, let's just talk about what did Jesus mean. Actually, he's the one that said he wanted to narrow the topic to just talking about this generation. He didn't want to get into a bunch of other side topics. He wanted to stay on that topic, which I thought was great. But I'd already been looking into this for years, so I knew all the standard objections why Jesus didn't actually mean the first century generation. And so he came, and he had his laptop computer and all his stuff, and really quickly I was able to show him that there really weren't any good explanations. And so somehow we ended up talking about a whole bunch of other things, because I don't think he really wanted to talk about this generation anymore, because he didn't know how to answer that. And I'm going to give them credit, because actually he and his wife came twice to our house to discuss these things. But I think it was just a little too much for them. And here's the thing, if you really want to learn something, so for example, he told me he was this is very specific, pre-wrath, post-trib dispensationalist, which now I know means he believed in the rapture, and that the rapture would be after the tribulation had started. So during the tribulation, but before the wrath. So like, I guess that means before the tribulation gets really, really bad, that's the wrath. So we'd be raptured out right before that. And he gave me this article. It was like 10 pages long. I printed it off and I read it and I made little notes in it and just questions and things that I saw as contradictions or whatever. And I gave him some information to read from my perspective, but I'm pretty sure that he never read any of it. And, you know, this is just how it usually goes, that when you present people with an idea that really challenges their paradigm, they don't really want to hear about it. So he was all about convincing me of his opinion, but once he realized it was going to be a little harder than he thought, he just kind of checked out. So that was it after the second meeting. And he's a great guy, a really nice guy. We still are friends, but, you know, we've never brought up the topic of eschatology again. But we did, so after a while, after like at least a year, maybe 2 years at this church, we started asking questions on the little question cards that are in the pew. And finally, the pastor, well, there's like a couple of different pastors, but one of the pastors said he would meet with us. And we met at a little restaurant and we talked. And I mean, I got to give him credit for coming, and he could have just said no, but he actually did. And we talked about some things, and, you know, he's very, very well educated. At that time, he didn't yet have his doctorate, but now he has his doctorate. And super smart guy. I mean, really, really bright. I mean, when he preaches, you know, he uses a lot of big words, let's put it that way. And he's not just like forcing the big words into a sentence like I would have to do. They just kind of roll off his tongue because he's just so well read. So very smart, very intelligent guy. But even in this case, he said, you know more about this topic than I do. Now, don't get all excited and think that he was admitting that we were right, because he absolutely does not think we're right, and he thinks we're crazy lunatics that are trying to spread heresy in the church. And I'm pretty sure he would like us to just leave, although he didn't say that, which was so nice of him. But he didn't have an answer for any of our questions. And he actually agreed to meet with my husband again, but what it really amounts to is a token meeting to say he did it. There's never been any like dialogue since then. In fact, you know, if my husband emails him, he just doesn't respond. Maybe he's responded a couple times, but very rarely. But after those meetings, they decided to have an Ask the Elder night, which is really cool. So they're promoting this. They're saying, turn in your questions, any question you have about the Bible. And the elders, we're going to have a special Wednesday night, and you'll come to church and we'll answer your questions. So, I mean, of course, we're like submitting a lot of questions, you know, like regarding all the timing statements and what are their views and how do they explain it. And then I think it would have been the night before the meeting, my husband gets an email that says, oh, I just wanted to let you know we won't be answering any of your questions at the Ask the Elder night. There's too many other questions. Well, oh, I thought that was pretty funny. Like, what a great way to just push all your questions under the rug and hide them from everyone else because they make us uncomfortable. I mean, if you had an answer for these questions, just give it. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little excited. I just find it very telling that they weren't willing to address any of them at the public meeting. That's when the pastor did agree to meet with my husband a second time. I think that was to assuage any of the like, well, you won't talk to me, so he'll meet with him privately. But I mean, that's just a way to hide this from everyone else. The good thing is that I'm hoping that the questions at least got read in front of the other elders so they can be thinking about it too and wondering why does their church not have an answer for these questions. So that's kind of where we are now. I think there's a lot of people at our church that would probably feel a lot more comfortable if we just left. But I'm kind of on a mission now. A mission to get people to think about things. That's my mission. Just a mission to get people to read their Bibles, you know? Read your Bibles. Pulling into my grandma's house now. My grandma, she's 93. And she still thinks she's in the end times, and she's, worried about things and the rapture and all that, but she's 93, so do I really want to try to tell her this? I don't know. She's so sweet. Okay.